Hi Taylor,
Hey, how's it going?
all well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Sorry, the lighting's not very good in here. There we go.
Yeah, that's better. All right.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's great to have you here today. All right, so guys, welcome to my talk show. I'm Sejal Gupta, an authorized Ashtanga Yoga teacher from Mumbai, India. And today I'm here with Taylor Hunt. He's a renowned authorized Ashtanga Yoga teacher from the US and one of the most amazing yoga icons globally. So welcome, Taylor. It's really nice to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate the introduction. That was very kind of you.
Yeah, so Taylor's going to be sharing a few insights on yoga and also, his personal experience and how do we overcome adversities through yoga. So Taylor, before we begin, let's have a quick intro from your end, your background for listeners.
Yes, so first off, I am an authorized teacher, like what was mentioned, but I'm also an author and I'm the executive director of the Trini Foundation, which helps addicts, people who are struggling with addiction. It helps them get into Ashtanga yoga and get into yoga communities, and also like we teach classes in treatment centers. And so that's a big part of the work that I do, and it's part of what I do in order to give back, really. So
Amazing.
I travel around the world. I teach workshops, but I think maybe the most important thing is that I'm a dad to three beautiful kids
Wow.
and loving family. So.
How old are your kids?
So Michaela is 10, Isaiah is 5, and Xavier he's 2, almost 3.
Cool. So you're an Ashtanga dad.
Ashtanga, yeah, of course.
All right. So, Taylor, can you share a little about your journey? Tell us a little about your story.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer, to that question is really that I was, when in my early 20s, I really struggled with addiction, drinking, drugs, partying too much. I was good at high school and college and all of that stuff, but I really struggled emotionally. I struggled with forming relationships, and my addiction really kind of took over at an early age. I would say probably when I was about 18, it kind of took over. And every single day I would drink and I would use and I would do these things. And I had a few coming to God moments where, I realized that I didn't want to live the way that I was living, but I didn't know how to change.
Okay.
I didn't know that there was program of recovery. I didn't really know about yoga or meditation. I didn't really know about any of this stuff. I just know that like my soul really longed to just be different than what I was. And I was suffering really from depression and anxiety and really just struggled emotionally for sure. Um, and it wasn't until I was about 6 months sober that I got introduced to yoga, and really I hated it the first time that I tried it, and part of the reason why is I couldn't touch my toes.
Yeah.
I couldn't touch my toes. I realized, because yoga plays this really interesting part in people's lives where you start to realize the consequences of every action.
Yeah.
And I realized in really the first class that I ever did that there was a bunch of consequences that I was going to have to pay for. We're free to make whatever decision we want to make in our lives, but we're not free from the consequences of those actions.
Yeah.
And on that first day, my yoga was reflective. It was difficult. It wasn't easy like how I thought it was going to be. I wasn't good at it, but it was reflective enough that it kind of turned me off the first time,
Okay.
because it was scary to be that vulnerable as I went through my yoga practice, and also to be in a room with other people doing this. I thought was an interesting experience as well.
Yeah.
So
So, I mean, what made you choose yoga specifically? Because I think there's so many ways to, deal with situations like that. So how did you get introduced to yoga?
Yeah, well, a lady really introduced me. She sort of like coerced me into doing it. I was at a spot where I was working the 12 steps of recovery that are outlined in the big books about Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. And I was working the 11th step, and the 11th step was it states that sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God. That's what the step is about. And you kind of work the steps like how you would kind of work the sutras, so like you don't just read all of the steps and say like I'm done with those, just like how you don't do that with the sutras either. They have to be absorbed, processed, or maybe journaled about, like, and, implemented into your life. And that's what I was doing. And I prayed. I was like, I need some sort of guidance into meditation because I don't know what it is. I knew what prayer was, didn't know what meditation was. And so um, as soon as really maybe a couple days after, this lady walked into my life, and she asked me to do yoga, and I said no. And I actually said no 6 times before I agreed to doing it, because I thought she was following me or something like that. It was a little weird seeing someone 6 times in a row, but they were saying the same message over and over and over again. And I realized today that my higher power or God or any of that stuff has this sense of humor, and they were trying to like beat yoga
Yeah.
into me a little bit. And so I went to my first class, and it was an Ashtanga yoga class. I've never done any other styles.
Going to an
I've
Ashtanga
never,
in the first go is like, wow.
yeah. And we did half of the primary series too. And so,
Wow.
yeah. And that was part of like realizing the consequences of my action. It's like I realized that because of the damage that I did during all the drinking and using, that I really couldn't do a push up. I really couldn't, fold forward. I really couldn't do a lot of the things that, is asked of,
Yeah.
in the primary series, and that was my first class, like 30 push-ups. Like it's a lot,
Wow.
30 chaturangas. Yeah.
Oh, that's
And so
tough.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. And I laid down and I was literally like, I'm getting out of here. I'm doing this again. And my sponsor talked me into going to the class.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was a 10-week series.
Okay.
And so we met every Saturday. And
Mhm.
I went on the first Saturday. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go back on the second. And then
Yeah.
I ended up going back on the second, and I had a completely different experience the next time. So.
Yeah. All right. Interesting, pretty interesting, because I'm sure it must be pretty frustrating initially when you can't do most of the things, because it's really it's depressing, no?
Yeah,
It's
I
like you
mean,
walk into a class and you're like, I can't do half of 80% of the things. I don't want to come back. I just don't want to come back.
yeah, I mean, that's, I think, where people get like a little bit misidentified,
Yeah.
especially in the beginning when they say stuff like, I can't do yoga because I'm not flexible.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, the reason why I was there was not really to get flexible. The reason why I was there is because spiritually I thought I was supposed to be there. Like my
Right.
sponsor, myself, thought I had to be there. But yeah, you're
Right.
right. It
Yeah.
is a little depressing when you can't
Yeah.
do anything. But the beauty of Ashtanga yoga is that you don't want to be able to do everything. Like, it's the journey, it's not the destination to get to
Right.
this place. And it becomes
Very well
part of
said.
your
Sure.
sadhana, and it becomes part of these spiritual practices that you're doing on a
Right.
consistent basis to feel better or feel different, or whatever, shows up for you, connect with your higher power, whatever it is for you.
Right.
That's what you can show up like. And I was looking for a spiritual connection through the meditative qualities of yoga, I wasn't really looking to open up my hamstrings and
Yeah.
hips. It was a second thing, but it is a little depressing that I couldn't
Yeah.
grab my toes. Yeah.
Right. So what made you stick to it? Like, how were you able to sustain the practice for a long time, you know?
Man, I mean, it's been different things at different times. It's been different things that matter to me at different times. Sometimes it is about getting the pose.
Yeah.
Other times it's just about discipline for me. I think most of all, the work that I do keeps me inspired, and the students that show up for me on a consistent basis keep me
Yeah.
inspired to show up, because I believe in integrity, and I believe in showing up, and I believe in doing the work myself so I can heal, and so I can feel differently, and so I can, feel better in my head on a consistent basis, so I can teach people. So sometimes it's my students,
Yeah.
other times, during my journey, like it was just about showing up and doing the best I could.
Yeah.
And so I've been inspired to continue this for a really long time, but it keeps on revealing more things for me. It keeps on revealing like different things, like, or different like layers to things that I thought I had processed, and the things that I thought I like removed.
Yeah.
There's deeper layers to them. And I'm trying to be the best person I can possibly be, and I'm trying to be of service today.
Yeah.
And I'm able to do that with the tool of Ashtanga yoga, because it's really transformed my life. And
Amazing.
the work that I'm doing with the Trini Foundation
Yeah.
is really about like figuring out how to give back, and that inspires me, because I mean, that's how I be of great service to society, because people are struggling with addiction, and people are struggling with all types of stuff.
Right. So can you tell us a little about the Trinity Foundation?
Yeah, it is a nonprofit charity that we started when we finished my book, and it was three of us. It's called the Trini Foundation, and there's three people that are in it, and we teach the third limb of Ashtanga Yoga. So that's kind of the reason why we named it that.
Wow.
But we started it because at the end of writing my book, what I realized is that it was going to make a big impact. And I realized that I was going to have sort of a platform. I read it for the last time. I was editing it. Like, I'm a pretty good editor, and I was trying to read it as objectively as possible. And I
Right.
was pretty moved. That last time reading it, I remember like kind of coming to tears, and realizing that like this group of us like put together like a really good thing to put out into the world. And so I remember I was reading it, and I looked over at my wife, and I looked over at Dawn Blevins, and I said, we got to start a charity. And I was sitting on my patio in Mysore, India, and I said, we got to start a charity. We need a 501c3 designation, or tax exempt status, and we need to have people get into yoga and learn it in treatment centers, and then we'll offer scholarships for them to go to yoga schools just like
Wow.
mine.
Interesting.
So
Very
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
Uh,
And the book is called Away from Darkness.
okay.
And you can get it on Amazon. So someone asked that question, so I just thought I'd answer it. But you can get it on Amazon, and it's been well received from the yoga community and also the recovery community, and it's really kind of catapulted me into the Trini Foundation. The Trini Foundation is really the accumulation of all of the things that we've been
Right.
doing at my studio and with the book, and teaching
Right.
people in recovery and stuff. So my
Right.
first class that I ever taught was actually in a treatment center.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah.
Amazing. When was this? What year was this?
This would have been 2000, I don't know, 10, something like that. Yeah. So, or actually, maybe it was earlier than that. Maybe 2008, something like that.
A long
I'm
time.
not 100%. Yeah, it was a long time ago. But I remember, and that was sort of the thing that inspired me
Right.
to start the Trini Foundation, is that I already knew about this work, and I
Yeah.
realized teaching these classes
Yeah.
that immediately, like, the person who was struggling with addiction, who was in a hospital, didn't want to do yoga, but if you got them to do yoga and you inspired them to do it, they laid down, they took shavasana or they took a rest. And when they got done with it, they literally felt different. And you saw immediate results as you know, the Ashtanga kind of like played out in their life on the
Wow.
very first time that they did it. So I knew it worked. And then I had firsthand experience with it as well.
Right. You actually saw people transform, and I think that's when you believe
Totally.
in the practice even more.
Yeah, yeah, it was amazing to really see, you know, the amount of change that can happen just in
Yeah.
one class. You know,
Wow.
from I hate this to all of a sudden, like they get to a place where they're like, man, I feel better inside. Like, thanks for
Yeah.
doing that. And I remember just all of these, you know, people in recovery like coming up to me who were patients in the
Yeah.
hospital, and they were like, that was the best thing that I've
Wow.
ever
What
done.
is
Yeah.
it that what are the things that they shared? Like, what are the changes they felt? Maybe can you
Well,
share about what was the post practice feeling, or
yeah, I think that, like generally speaking, I think addicts really struggle with anxiety, whether
Okay.
they acknowledge it or not. And I think what the practice does through activity, like it gets you moving, it gets you breathing, it kind of gets you sweating, and it kind
Right.
of brings you a little bit more, you know, internal.
Uh-huh.
And I think that generally speaking, all of them really, to a certain level, experienced like a lessening of the nervous anxiety energy,
Wow,
and
that's
and and it brings their mind to a little bit of rest, actually.
mhm.
So, and then they feel differently as a result of it, and they're able to tune in a little bit deeper.
Nice. Very, very interesting. Like, it's amazing to hear these kind of stories. They actually make you want to practice even more.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, I was pretty honored too because you know, Sharath Ji, our teacher, you know, he became an honorary director of the Trini Foundation because I told
Oh,
him about the work that we were
wow.
doing, and he became sort of an honorary director of the foundation or charity. And
Yeah.
it's been really cool because I mean he understands the benefits of it as well.
Huh?
And so putting it out there that
Yeah.
we were doing this, and then also having his support,
Yeah.
and really a lot of the Ashtanga community is supporting us right now. We have like 54 partner studios. It's pretty amazing. And
Right.
so we have these communities that have really helped, and I mean everyone is seeing benefit from it, you know. So
I think the Ashtanga community is so beautiful. It's like there are people from different parts of the world, but it's like one community. It's
yeah,
incredible.
it
All
is
right. So,
incredible. I mean, bunch of different personalities that are all teaching the same thing, but all with their
absolutely,
perspectives on it. It's
absolutely,
pretty amazing. Yeah.
totally. All right. So, Taylor, maybe it would be nice if you could share with us what is your definition of yoga. What is yoga according to you? Like,
I mean, I believe in what the Yoga Sutras say. You know, I think a lot of times, like, it gets thrown around the idea that yoga is a union of body, mind, and soul. But what I've experienced firsthand is really understanding yogas chitta vritti nirodha, and so like really understanding like the vritti aspect of what is happening in my head. When
right.
I struggled with addiction, you
Yeah.
know, that is a huge vritti, a huge samskara, these huge things that you know change lives as a result of it. And through the practice of yoga, what I've been able to do is calm down the vibrations in my head. I've being able to calm down the vibrations and vrittis in my head, and you know, all of a sudden, as a result of doing that, I've been able to really see what I feel like is my true purpose, and become the person that I'm supposed to be. And so, yes, yoga is union and, you know, body, mind, and soul. But for me, it is really understanding the stories in our head and no longer paying attention to them anymore because they don't serve us anymore. You know, I
Hmm.
got to a place in my addiction where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I've also gotten a place in my yoga where I'm
Yeah.
sick and tired of hearing the stories of this negative thing that I don't fit in, that I'm not good enough, or I don't look right, or my body's not shaped right. Like all of these stories that are negative and don't serve me anymore, like I don't listen to them. Like
Yeah.
and that's what yoga has done for me. It's like the stabilizing of the fluctuations of the mind for me.
Right.
So,
All right. Pretty interesting. Were there other challenges or adversities in your life that you were able to overcome through yoga? Maybe if you want
yeah,
to share a little bit.
yeah. I mean, the biggest one is addiction, obviously.
Yeah.
But I've overcome a lot of things. I think overcoming addiction is basically like coming over or overcoming the grandiose sense of self,
Yeah.
an ego
Yeah.
that like doesn't serve the world or serve you at all. And
Sure.
one of the biggest challenges is like to cut through the ego and really be at a place of humility,
Right.
that I am this, and I don't, there's nothing else that I can do besides like be me.
Right.
And really the cutting of all of those, what I would say defects of character,
Mm-hmm.
cutting those out have been huge roadblocks, you
Right.
know, uh, like self-serving, fear, ego, it's like, yeah, jealousy, I mean, envy, all of the things that are talked about in the sutras of obstacles, like I've overcome them, just by showing up at my mat and staying consistent,
Right.
consistency of showing up, but also the consistency of effort too.
Right.
And I think that's the formula. It's like you show up on a consistent basis, but you
Right.
also give the same amount of effort. And when you
Right.
do that, it equals that you become something different as a result of it. And so I've turned my life over to this, well, I could say higher power, but I was going to say higher purpose,
Yeah.
to be of service in the world, to no longer care about, well, I mean, I do care about my needs, but they're not like over exaggerated. It's
Sure.
like I have these needs, I take care of those needs, but I'm also able to like help other people and get out of myself. So,
Right. Wow. Nice. All right. So, another thing I wanted to ask you was, what if people don't do yoga? Do you think they would be able to overcome adversities if they don't practice?
I mean, I think that a lot of people can find the things that they need to do in order to take care of their spiritual health.
Uh-huh.
I think that they can find that. I just think that yoga plays a really unique role in people's lives where it becomes therapeutic, and it shifts all of the perspectives and gets you kind of where you need to go. And I think that it gets people moving too. And like when you can't like think yourself into overcoming obstacles, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like what happens is that you get into action and you
Yeah.
start doing things to overcome it by maybe changing your behavior or thought process, or
Yeah.
changing your behaviors, which will change your thought processes. But if someone doesn't do yoga, I mean, I do think that they can find, those spiritual connections that they need in order to overcome them. I think one of the best things, and I know it's not really talked about a lot in the United States, but like finding a higher power that you can like put your faith in can
Right.
really help you overcome obstacles. And I think people can also do this in the gym as they see their bodies transform. And I think that they can do it with Pilates and Tai Chi. I think that they can do it.
Right.
But I think that yoga really combines like almost a sacred and movement and meditation kind of all together. And
Right.
so if they're not doing yoga, they should.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's more of an, I think the difference between yoga and other forms of fitness or exercise is that I believe yoga is more internal as compared to most other forms, which are amazing, like no doubt, but they're more to do with your external physical body. But like yoga is something that works internally, like
Yeah. I agree. I just think that a lot of times yoga is fitness as well,
right,
and it has to come from a place that it can be fitness, but it
right,
can't only be fitness.
sure, yeah,
It has to be these other things.
Right.
It has to be the search for meaning or the search
Yeah.
for purpose. And, it has to be connection with your higher power or your prayers and movement,
Right.
all of these things. Because if you walk in and it's like, you only want fitness, it's only fitness that you get,
Right.
it's like a lot of
Right.
times, like people go through little shifts, but I think that people, if they walk in with the right intention to really anything,
Yeah.
intention and mindset that I
Uh-huh.
want to transform my life, by going to the gym, they can do that. Will they get connected to their higher power? I don't know. I haven't, I've done the gym. I haven't got that, but maybe you do after a certain amount of time.
Right.
Yeah, so I think it's a kind of the balancing act of,
Yeah.
yes, it's fitness, it's aerobics, it's a workout, but then
Yeah.
also on the other side, it's like it's how I get connected to what matters to me. How do I go inside? And a lot of the other stuff is external.
Right.
So
Yeah, but what you said is very interesting. Like the intention is very important, it makes a lot of difference.
I mean, I think that it's
The main thing.
almost all of it.
Yeah,
I think
true.
it's almost all of it. Yeah, I mean, I think that if you have an eagerness to seek
Right.
and you're looking for something and you come in here and you do your yoga practice with an open heart, an honest, open, and willing heart, I
Right.
think that everything can come in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. Absolutely. So, Taylor, what's your biggest insight after overcoming, all these adversities in life?
I mean, my biggest insight is that I can be whoever the hell I want to be.
Yeah.
And I don't have to have, I don't have to have other people's interpretation of what I'm
Right.
supposed to be. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to have society's pressures of what I need to be.
Right.
I don't owe them anything. What I owe is really that I become the best person that I can possibly be and
Right.
serve the best way that I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And that requires that I do the work in my yoga room,
Yeah.
on my mat, and also that I'm able to give back. Like today, my story, all of that stuff was really difficult, but today I'm giving back as a
Yeah.
result of it. I thought in the beginning that in addiction, like my life was garbage. It was terrible.
Right.
But now all of a sudden, like I realize that I have a second chance and I
Yes.
can be whoever I want. I can serve however I want. I can do it with an open, honest heart. I don't have to be what other people want me to be,
Right.
or the expectations of what other people want me to be. I can be me, and I can be fully me and be okay with it today. And that's been like the biggest insight, that I'm okay with me today.
Right.
Like other people don't bother me. It's like because I'm okay with me.
Right. I think it's making yourself comfortable with being comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah. And that's what I feel like today. And yoga's done that for me. 12 steps of recovery, the relationships that I have, the students, they've all like been this petri dish of like me going through all of this
Yeah.
rapid change
Uh-huh.
and coming out on the other side and just, like putting it all in there, and I've become something that I never thought I was.
Wow.
So,
Amazing.
yeah,
It's really nice. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and your stories. It's been
of course.
incredible. I'm just going to check if people, I'm going to leave the forum open for a few questions. Okay, I can see a question. So somebody's asking, body pain due to prolonged sitting for work. How do you get better? So Taylor, maybe you can answer.
Well, I mean, one of the best things that I think someone can do if they're having body pain from work, and they also do a sitting practice, I think the best thing for them to do is Surya Namaskaras, to get kind of the body movement. You don't have, like, a sitting practice is an amazing thing, but body pain shows up because of like how you're living your life. Some people just tough it out. But I think most of the people like end up start doing somewhat of a yoga practice. And I think the best place to start is just Surya Namaskaras, to get the hamstrings, to get the hips moving, to move your arm, it's like just heat up the body. I think it helps you to do prolonged sitting for sure. So.
Let's look if anybody has any questions. Okay. All right, so I had a few questions from few friends who, asked me if you teach online and, do you come to India? So tell us, of course, now.
Well, I come to, I come to India every year, but it doesn't look like I'm coming this year. Yeah, just because of all of the coronavirus stuff. But yes, I do come. I've never taught a workshop there. I would love to.
Yeah, maybe you should go by and do a workshop the next time. Maybe when all this settles, when the lockdown is finished.
I would love that. Yeah, but I do teach online, and I basically am holding Mysore classes from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Monday through Thursday. And I'm teaching like not only the community at Ashtanga Yoga Columbus, but I'm also teaching people like worldwide. And this is Eastern Standard Time. And then my studio also has evening classes. I don't teach those. But yeah, I'm also doing workshops online as well. I have a couple workshops coming up. I'm doing a thing for Nashville or Ashtanga Yoga Nashville and a couple other communities around that I'm basically just trying to help people stay inspired during this time and stay moving.
All right. So. I have a few questions here. We'll quickly take 3 to 4 questions. So somebody's asking, how do I keep myself motivated to hit the mat? This is a very common question. I think most people always ask me.
Yeah, I mean, everyone asks me this as well. I think the biggest thing that keeps people motivated is really understanding why you started in the first place. Like understanding your big why. And if you don't know why you started, you're not going to continue. You have to be very clear with like, there is this purpose behind what I'm doing, and understanding, writing it down, setting some goals, setting a routine for what you're doing, so that you can sort of fall into motivation, but also fall into discipline when needed, so it's like understanding your why you show up. And I realized about halfway through my journey that my why needed to be bigger. And part of the reason why say it again.
Sorry, we lost you for a moment. I think the network broke.
Okay.
It's okay now.
But some of, understanding my why was a big thing. And about halfway through my journey, I realized that, my why needed to be bigger. It couldn't just be about me anymore. And that's like when the Trini Foundation came on. And that's like when I started doing work that was, more externally, like giving back. And so I realized that Ashtanga Yoga is a tool for transformation. And I want anyone who wants to do it have the ability to do it, because I believe it changes lives. That's my big why, and I'm very clear with it. And that's what keeps you motivated. It's like, I'm doing this for this bigger purpose.
Sure. All right. Somebody's asking, does doing yoga with kids around? I think you would be the best person to answer that because you're a dad.
Yeah, well, I mean, the beauty of my situation is I leave my house and I go to my yoga studio. Practicing around kids is difficult. I think the best thing for parents is to let go of the expectation that you have to like get this hour and a half practice done. You don't have to. You really just have to do something every day. And you got to throw away like the guilt that comes up from not doing this hour and a half and the shame that you might do. It's like, it's not about any of those things. It's about you showing up, doing something that gets you connected. And that can just be some salutations, or, I mean, it could even be just pranayama. It could be half of the practice. It's really whatever whatever you need, but I think, or whatever you have time for. But I think that you just have to do something. All
right, thank you. How do you keep going? Jenny asks, how do you keep going?
Well, I mean, first thing is you got to take care of yourself. So you got to eat right. You got to get enough sleep. You got to, manage your phone time and your computer time and how you're sitting. You only have to change really one thing to keep going, and it's your entire life. Just one thing. But you have to look at all of the little categories, and you got to be like, that doesn't serve me anymore. Staying up until midnight doesn't serve me anymore. This food doesn't serve me anymore. I can't eat McDonald's and then expect to wake up and feel good about myself. You have to start making choices that get you to a place that you can fully be yourself. And so make good choices. That's how you keep going.
Awesome. Great. So hope that answers your question, guys. So Taylor, thank you so much for joining me today. It was lovely chatting with you.
Yep. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes. Thank you guys for listening. See y'all soon. Bye, Taylor.